ready to dive in. Today, it's all about insurance.
That's good.
We're looking at this article. What is insurance under the umbrella of protection?
Okay.
And, insurance is something we all deal with, but I'm not sure how much we really grasp what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So let's unpack it.
Yeah. It's interesting because people often just think of it as, part of their personal budget.
Right.
But insurance is actually this huge pillar of the whole economy.
Oh, for sure.
It's a system built on kind of a fascinating idea, really. It's all about shared responsibility.
Yeah, that's what's always kind of struck me as odd. I'm paying these premiums, hoping I never have to actually use the insurance,
Right.
It feels almost like gambling in a way.
It's not quite gambling. I mean, think about it less like that and more like, a big safety net that we all kind of contribute to.
Okay.
So individually, we face all these unpredictable risks in life, but together we can create this pool of resources to deal with them.
Right.
That's really the heart of insurance. We're transferring the risk from the individual to the group.
So it's kind of like we're all in it together. We each chip in, knowing that it's there to protect everyone.
Exactly. It's this social contract. And it takes so many different forms, covering a surprisingly wide range of risks.
Yeah, the article lays out all these different types. Life insurance is probably the one everyone's most familiar with, right? It pays out to your family if something happens to you.
Yeah. But it's not just about covering those immediate costs like a funeral.
No.
It's a key piece of estate planning, like making sure your family can handle things like inheritance taxes or that, say, a business partner can buy out your shares.
Oh, wow.
It's about making sure things can continue financially.
I hadn't thought about it that way. And then, of course, there's health insurance. Feels like that's practically a must-have these days.
Absolutely. Healthcare, it can be a massive financial burden.
Yeah.
Health insurance gives you that cushion so you can access the care you need without the fear of going broke.
Right. That peace of mind knowing you won't be drowning in medical bills if something unexpected pops up.
Exactly.
Okay. And then there's the insurance for all our stuff, our houses, cars, all that.
That's property and casualty insurance. All about protecting those assets, those physical things. So like home insurance that covers damage from fires, storms, even theft. Auto insurance that protects you financially if you're in an accident.
Makes sense.
It's all about softening the financial blow of those what-if situations.
Right. But it's not just about damage to our own stuff, is it? What about if we accidentally cause harm to someone else or their property?
Right, and that's where liability insurance comes in.
Okay.
It protects you from the potential costs of lawsuits or claims. Like, let's say your dog bites someone.
Oh, yeah.
Or a tree falls from your property and damages a neighbor's car. That's when liability coverage kicks in.
So many things to think about, all these what-ifs. It's crazy how many specific types of insurance are out there. I mean, the article even mentioned stuff like marine insurance for ships and cyber insurance for online threats.
Yeah, insurance is always changing, adapting to new risks that pop up. It shows how flexible it is as a concept. But at the core of it all, there are these key mechanisms: premiums and underwriting.
Right, premiums, that's what we pay for the coverage.
Yeah.
But how do these companies actually decide how much each person should pay?
That's where the underwriting comes in. It's all about assessing risk. Underwriters look at lots of factors: your age, your health, driving record, the value of your property, even your credit history sometimes.
So they're putting together like a profile on you, trying to figure out how likely you are to file a claim.
Essentially, yeah. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The more data they have, the more accurate those risk assessments can be. Some insurers are even starting to use those devices that track your driving, the telematics things, and they adjust your premiums based on that.
Wow, so it's getting really personalized. Does that mean someone who's super careful, always follows the rules, could actually end up paying less than someone who takes more risks?
That's the whole idea behind personalized pricing.
Oh, okay.
By looking at individual behavior, individual characteristics, insurers can tailor the premiums much more accurately, and that means those who represent a lower risk, they get rewarded. But of course, this brings up a whole bunch of questions about fairness, and how much data should actually be used in these calculations.
Yeah. It's almost like a big philosophical debate about risk and responsibility and privacy all rolled into one.
Right.
But on a more, practical level, people always wonder, what if I never actually make a claim?
Yeah.
Where does all that money I paid in premiums go? It's like I was just contributing to someone else's payout.
That's a very common misconception. Those premiums don't just sit around in a vault somewhere waiting for someone to file a claim.
Right.
Insurance companies invest those funds. They play a huge role in the financial markets and the economy as a whole.
So my premiums are actually being invested.
Absolutely. Stocks, bonds, real estate, even infrastructure projects.
Wow.
These investments help fuel economic growth, create jobs, support all sorts of different sectors.
That's fascinating.
It's a crucial link, between those individual premiums and the overall financial system.
Okay.
Yeah.
It really is. It makes you think about where all that money goes. And speaking of big systems, I can't help but think about technology and how it's impacting the insurance world. This article mentions AI a lot.
Yeah. AI is changing everything, and insurance is no exception.
Right.
It's being used in all these different areas: underwriting, claims processing, even fraud detection and customer service.
So does this mean, like, instead of humans looking at all the data and making decisions, we've got algorithms doing that now?
Not completely. It's more like AI is a tool. It helps humans do their jobs better.
Okay.
Think about it. It can analyze huge amounts of data way faster than any human could.
Right.
And it can spot patterns and insights that we might miss.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But it also makes me wonder, like, what about bias? Could an AI system actually make things less fair if it's been trained on data that's already biased?
That's a really important point. AI systems, they're only as good as the data they learn from.
Right.
If the data's got those historical biases baked in, well, the AI might just keep repeating those same problems.
Oh.
That's why it's so important for insurance companies to use data that's diverse and representative.
Yeah.
And they have to constantly be checking their systems for any signs of bias.
It sounds like a tough job keeping that balance between using the power of AI but making sure things stay fair and ethical.
It definitely is. And transparency is a big part of that, too. People have the right to know how these systems work, what data is being used, how decisions are being made.
Definitely. And speaking of potential problems, cybersecurity has to be a major worry for insurance companies, right? Especially with all this sensitive data they're handling.
Oh, absolutely. They're a prime target for hackers. Imagine a data breach. All that personal information, financial records, even those proprietary algorithms. It could be devastating.
Financially and just in terms of their reputation, too.
Exactly.
So how are they trying to deal with that?
Well, it's kind of an ongoing battle.
Yeah.
They're putting a lot of resources into cybersecurity, things like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, encryption, multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
You've probably seen that. Needing to enter a code from your phone to log in. And they're also training their employees to spot phishing attacks and other scams.
So it's like they constantly have to be one step ahead.
Pretty much. But even with all that, some risks are becoming harder and harder to manage. Climate change is a big one.
Yeah, the article really emphasized how climate change is a total game changer for the insurance industry.
It is. It's multifaceted. More frequent and severe natural disasters, rising sea levels, changing weather patterns. All that impacts how insurers assess and manage risk.
It makes me think about those hurricanes and wildfires we've seen lately, the ones that cause billions in damage.
Exactly. And those kinds of events are only becoming more common and more intense. Insurers are having to rethink their whole approach.
So how are they actually doing that?
Well, for one, they're factoring climate data into their risk assessments, using really sophisticated models to predict the impact of climate change on different areas and different types of properties.
So trying to get ahead of it, figure out what the risks are going to be in the future.
That's the idea. And they're also changing their underwriting guidelines. Maybe limiting coverage in high-risk areas or raising premiums to reflect the increased chance of claims.
I can see how that makes sense from a business point of view, but what about people who can't afford those higher premiums or can't even find anyone to insure them?
That's a really important societal issue.
Yeah.
As climate change keeps intensifying, we have to find ways to make sure everyone can still get insurance, especially those communities that are most vulnerable.
It feels like climate change is really pushing the limits of what insurance can handle.
It's pushing the industry to adapt and innovate, for sure. We're starting to see insurers working with governments and communities on things like resilience strategies, encouraging people to take steps to reduce their risk, and even exploring new insurance products specifically designed to address climate-related risks.
It's fascinating how something as big as climate change is having such a direct impact on something as personal as insurance.
Right. And it's not the only big trend that's shaping the industry. The article also talks about how demographics are changing, and that's having an effect too.
Demographics, you mean like population changes and things like that?
Yeah. Things like people living longer, family structures changing.
Mm.
All that impacts how insurance products are designed and how much they cost. Life insurance, health insurance, even auto insurance.
I get how longer lifespans would affect life insurance. People need coverage for longer now. But how do those changing family structures come into play?
Well, think about the traditional idea of a family, 2 parents, kids.
Right.
Nowadays, there are so many different types of families. Blended families, single-parent households, same-sex couples.
Of course.
Insurance policies need to be flexible enough to cover all those different situations and make sure everyone has access to the protection they need.
So insurance is constantly trying to keep up with how society is changing.
Exactly. And with all these changes going on, technology, climate, demographics, the insurance industry needs to innovate more than ever before.
So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for insurance, this thing that's so connected to our lives and the economy? It really feels like we're at this turning point with all these different forces shaping where insurance is headed, what's coming up next, what kind of innovation is in the pipeline.
One of the most interesting things happening is the move towards, well, personalized and on-demand insurance.
Okay.
So imagine this, coverage that actually adapts to your needs, your lifestyle, your specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it could even adjust your premiums, your coverage levels, all in real time.
Oh, wow. So instead of having that one policy that just sits there year after year, it would be more dynamic, almost like a living thing.
Exactly. Think of it like that usage-based car insurance.
Right.
It tracks how you drive using that telematics tech, and then it adjusts your premiums based on that.
Yeah.
Or health insurance that actually rewards you for being healthy, for making good choices.
Oh, interesting.
Lower premiums, or maybe even some kind of rewards program.
So it becomes less about paying for stuff that already happened and more about actively managing risks, looking ahead.
That's a huge shift. And it's all being driven by, the explosion of data we have now and all the sophisticated ways we can analyze it.
Right.
We talked about AI earlier, but it's really the combination of data, analytics, and technology that's making this personalized approach possible.
It makes you think about those fitness trackers, the smartwatches that track everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
Could that data actually be used to personalize insurance? Figure out what our premium should be?
Absolutely. We're already starting to see companies looking into how to use data from wearables to assess health risks and tailor pricing.
Wow.
It's part of this bigger movement towards what we call preventative and proactive insurance.
Okay.
So the focus is on helping people stay healthy, avoid those risks in the first place.
So instead of just coming in after something bad happens, they're trying to prevent it from happening.
Right. It's almost like a partnership between the insurance company and the person they're insuring, working together to manage risk and promote well-being.
I like that. It's a much more collaborative approach.
Exactly. And all of this is creating opportunities for new players to come into the market, like those insurtech startups we talked about earlier.
Yeah, those are the ones that are really shaking things up, right?
They are. They're bringing fresh perspectives, innovative technologies to an industry that's been, pretty slow to change traditionally.
Mm-hmm.
They're using things like mobile apps, online platforms, AI to make insurance easier to understand, more affordable, more user-friendly overall.
It's like they're challenging the old way of doing things.
Exactly. Disrupting the traditional model. We're seeing them do all sorts of interesting things.
Like what?
Like peer-to-peer insurance models.
Oh, yeah.
Where people basically pool their resources together to cover each other. Or on-demand insurance for specific events. Like if you're renting a car or going on vacation, you can just get coverage for that specific time period.
It's like they're tailoring insurance to how people live their lives now, where everything's instant and personalized and, on your own terms.
Exactly. And this whole consumer-centric approach, it's forcing the big traditional companies to adapt too. They're starting to realize that they need to offer a better digital experience if they want to keep up.
It's amazing how technology is giving people more choices, more control over their insurance.
It's a real shift in the power dynamic. People aren't just passively accepting whatever policy they're given anymore. They want transparency, flexibility, and they want to feel like they're getting their money's worth.
And it's not just about basic coverage anymore, right? The article talked about sustainability, social responsibility. Those are starting to factor into people's decisions about insurance.
Absolutely. People are looking for companies that align with their values. They want to know where their money is going, what kind of environmental impact their insurer has, whether they're supporting ethical practices.
So it's about more than just, the bottom line.
Exactly. We're seeing more and more demand for products that take into account things like environmental, social, and governance factors. People want their insurance choices to reflect a commitment to a better world, a more sustainable world.
I feel like insurance is becoming a way for people to express their values.
That's a great point. Insurance isn't just about managing risk, it's about shaping the future we want. It's recognizing how interconnected we are and how our actions affect each other and the planet.
This whole deep dive has been eye-opening. We've
Mm.
covered so much. The basic ideas of risk transfer, the challenges of climate change, the amazing potential of technology.
We've seen how insurance provides a safety net for people, how it supports the entire financial system, and how it can be a force for good in society.
I feel like I have a completely different understanding of insurance now. It's so much more than just policies and premiums. It's really a reflection of who we are, what we care about, and the kind of future we're building.
That's a really insightful way to put it. And I hope everyone listening will keep exploring this topic, keep asking questions, and keep talking about how insurance can be part of creating a better world.
Thanks for guiding us through this. It's been amazing.
My pleasure.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Till then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.